Hey Jerry, Ted Norby, how you doing? We haven't met yet, but I've heard a lot about you, and we've emailed a bunch of times. Sorry I haven't seen you at any of the tournaments. I've had some family stuff coming on. Well, I'm going to try to get to a couple of the spring ones, so hopefully I'll see you then. You sent me this, sent Randy and I these links to your swings, and I was taking a look at them. Sorry it took a while to get back to you. But looking at a couple things, and what I really like, I mean, from one year to the next, and I'll offer some suggestions, and you can email me back or shoot me another video, either way. What I really like is how you've stabilized everything, obviously. From this backswing, you look a little more stable here. You're actually getting a little bit more behind the ball than you were here. See how you're kind of leaning and your upper body's really on top of the ball and on your left leg right there. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, what that causes you to do. I'm actually going to want you to get your upper body loaded into that right leg just a little bit more. A lot of different theories, stack and tilt versus one plane versus two plane versus all this. But every single one of these guys, even the stack and tilt guys, get back into their right leg at some point, even when they're hitting wedges. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But if we get to impact, here's where you really see you're way ahead of the ball here. Your upper body's even kind of on that right leg. Here, same thing, upper body way ahead of the ball. So you have to flip and you have to throw. And you can see how the club head's kind of broken down. Left wrist is kind of broken down here more than it was more a year ago than it is now. So I think it's on the right track. You're doing some really good stuff here. As we look at from both views, new swing, love the posture. This is phenomenal. You've done a great job with this. Arms hanging. I can't change that at all. But what I can change in setup is this look right here, where the hands are way ahead, which actually closes the club face. If your hands are that far ahead, that shuts the club face if we ever release it properly. So your hands are way forward. Your right shoulder is running a little bit out forward. That opens your shoulders a little bit. So that right shoulder is having to reach to get those hands up here. So we don't see much of your left hip, and we see a lot of your right hip. Versus, and if we take a look at a bunch of these other guys. So here's Aaron Baddeley. And here's Aaron Baddeley, and I think he's got a 9-iron or a wedge or something like that. And you can really see the difference where the hands are inside the left leg. The upper body is even a little bit behind the ball already. Ball position still just a touch forward to center and with a wedge or something. That's great. But from there, he can now load into that right leg. So he's not really moving off the ball because he's already set with his upper body there. But all of these players get into their right leg. But all of this adds to and gets you to be able to get here. And this is my ultimate goal for you, which would be to get to this position versus, and which one is it? Here's the newer one. Versus this position right here, where you can really see that you've extended and released the club back here on your right leg. Even if we keep going to just past impact, here we go. You can see that club head's way past. So at this point here, when the hands are just inside the left thigh, you can see that Aaron Baddeley's club is still leaning forward. So the hands are ahead, releasing on the left leg. You look at all good players, this full extension happens somewhere on past the ball, left foot to just past left leg, whereas your club is already passing right here. Your full extension, thus your speed, and if we start taking a look at your driver and stuff too, if that extension is back behind the ball, you've already released all of your speed. And that will create some inconsistency in trajectory. You're adding loft to the club. It'll float. You can go left. It can go right. All sorts of stuff. Looking at these other players, and it's just every single player. Here's Ben Crane. Again, we can see that that full extension is out here on the left leg instead of the right leg. Before impact, the shaft is leaning forward. Trevor Immelman. Full extension, left leg. So every single good player gets here. Think about throwing a baseball. You'd want to release it out here. You don't want to release it back here. Playing hockey, playing tennis, anything. So I want my speed and everything happening out here. I think your body looks great. You look at the difference between you and Trevor Immelman. The legs look pretty good. Left knee is shifted. You've definitely shifted forward. Hips look pretty good. It's just those arms are releasing back here instead of getting out in front of you. Even when we go to some old Hogan picture, where is it? Here we go. Hogan from a distance. I just pulled up some other stuff. You can see that release, he hasn't hit the ball yet, but those hands are already on his left leg. Now the ball's gone. That's where that release happens out here. And this is also a little bit of a wedge right here. You can see ball middle of the stance. He's not making a huge motion right here. Okay. And I'm unfortunately, like I said, I apologize for some of the pictures here. I had lost a bunch of stuff on my computer, and I haven't had a chance to put all that back. That's why some of these aren't marked yet. Where's my Jason Duffner? This is a driver. You can see how he's kind of back on his right leg. So now he can get forward and wear those arms. He hasn't even released it yet at this point. Now we've got his full extension is way past that left leg with the driver. Where'd my Nick Watney picture go? Just won the other day. That's why I was going to throw him on. There it is, Nick Watney. Again, you can see every single one of these guys gets this release here. So again, that's my ultimate goal for you. But we can't get the hands up there if I'm way ahead of the ball. So Nick's hitting a little bit bigger swing, obviously. But if we take a look right here, you can see that his upper body, head, shoulders, torso, is loaded into this right thigh. Instead of your head and shoulders are still over here in your left thigh. Hard to get back forward of the ball from there. And the biggest reason is they all start from this position here. Upper body tilted a little bit back. He leans a little more on his left than some other guys, but again, upper body tilted back. Dustin Johnson, upper body, tilted back. So you see how his head is already sitting on his inside of his right leg right there? He's hitting the 3-wood right there. So it's a bunch of different looking players. Louis Oosthuizen, head back behind the ball, hands inside the thigh. Now a driver, that's why that's leaning back here just a little bit. So as he rotates, watch his first move with his chest. And every single, and this is what I talk about as when I consider fundamentals, it's where does everybody get to? Every single one of these guys gets their chest and their chin on the inside of their right leg at this kind of halfway back spot. Your head kind of wants to be there, but now right about here, you're already leaning back the other way. And you can see how you're sitting into that right leg, or left leg, instead of these guys all get themselves to load into this right leg. Doesn't have to be a lean over, but it's just starting that upper body behind the ball a little bit. Rory McIlroy, watch his first move. There's his chest and his head into his right leg a little bit more. There's a better one right here, a little better line. You can see where he's back behind the ball right there. That's an older picture of him. There's a newer picture. Those are still old ones. I want that one from the front is what I'm kind of looking for. Marco Mira, older guys. Now he's hitting a wedge. You can really see how he's already set his head back there. So now all he has to do is rotate, and he's staying back. Now he's in that position, and again, Hands lead, full extension more on the left leg instead of the right leg. A little varying degrees. Some guys get way over that right foot to be able to go forward. Other guys just don't get that far onto their right leg. Trevor Immelman, smaller guy, he's starting to play good again after some injuries. Again, you can see he's hitting a wedge, but his head is already on his right leg. The guys that move a little bit more, now here's a Tom Kite frontal. Watch what his head does. So there's a movement into that right leg. Every single guy. It's just the guys that don't move their heads start their head over here instead of in the middle of their body. But every single guy somewhere back here, legs are pretty stable, but that chest and head are in that right leg. Now they're in a position to be able to shift forward, but the arms can come with them and get in front. So again, ultimate goal I have for you is to get into that position instead of that position. You want to move your body goes forward awesome. It's just you're never behind the ball. So as soon as you get going forward, you're already ahead of the ball. Now you're in save mode. And you're releasing the club. Now you look a little jammed up right in here, as opposed to these guys all get out away from their body with their arms getting out away from it. Now, with that setup, that causes an issue in the backswing. Again, great posture, but you get the club a little bit inside and shut. So once that club gets a little bit inside, now you're kind of staying on your left foot. Club gets a little flat right there, so you've got to lift. And as you lift, watch your lower body. So as you're lifting, you're already starting to go forward. And that's why the club is so far behind you. I think your lower body works awesome. I think your arms work really good coming back down through the ball. That's beautiful. It's just with that, the way you set up and don't get behind the ball, you've got to work too hard to get back down into the ball. So to get into this position, and I did a couple little drills here. I think this is my first one right here. Just kind of do a drill where you kind of preset yourself in position. So I'll walk into the ball, get yourself set up and all this. This was like a 7-iron or something. But from address, squeeze your legs, because I love where your legs get, but leave your upper body back, and your hands get out to that left thigh. That's where we want them. I want that shaft leaning forward through impact. That's that down, compress feel. I'm not hitting down with it with my upper body, but if my hips shift forward, like I said, you do that great. Your knee and your hip gets over here, your right leg gets in. We just need those hands to get up to that left leg a little bit more. So just get yourself this little squeeze drill, get over there with the hands and the legs, then just make a little 3/4, a little 2/3, 3/4 kind of motion where you return back to that same position. You see, I'm shifting my legs exactly the way you did, but my arms are getting out there with it. Now I'm trying to feel like I'm hitting a little low punch shot, but again, I'm punching it with my hips and my hands, not with my shoulders pulling down on top of it. So I'll run this through totally once just so you can kind of see it. So just kind of get into setup position. I'll talk about that a little bit. Squeeze into that left leg. Get into where you want that impact position. There's the hands right on the inside of the thigh. Shifting, get back into normal. Little half speed, half swing. And just kind of hit a little punch shot. And you should be able to hit little punch draws from right there. Okay? Same thing, you can see it from this back view also. Just kind of squeezing in a couple times. Now I'm in this position where as I shift, now watch my right hip, as you and I start the other way, you can see that my arms are coming with it. Now you're in that position to deliver the blow and keep driving through the ball. So that little setup, squeeze drill, then hit a shot is really good. The other is just to do kind of some little turning, setup and turning drills. So number one is just setting up where hands are a little more inside the thigh, upper body is a little bit more behind the ball. You can put your chin and your chest kind of more on that, just in back of the zipper. Then do a couple turning drills. Look in a mirror. Now, certainly I don't want to lean where the head is outside the foot or any of that stuff, but I want to get this loaded into this right side. You can see how my left hip is staying a little bit more level, as opposed to when you hit this shot. Let me squeeze this. As you get to the top, see how when you have to lift, because that club gets a little bit inside, you lift, and as you lift, you can see how your left hip has gotten low, and you're almost kind of dropping into that left leg right there. Arms go up, and you kind of squeeze into that left leg, left hip going down, as opposed to hip a little more level. And again, not just me. Here's Aaron Badley. You can see how that left hip kind of stays. So as you're making this turn of your body, just leave that left hip and leg kind of staying there and staying up as this rotates. After doing a couple turning drills, then go ahead and make a couple little turns. I'll grab my wedge this time, but now you can see as I'm getting into that right leg, now I'm into that position where I can go ahead and get forward without getting ahead of the ball with my upper body. Last, from that good address position here, there we go, where the hands are a little more inside the thigh and the upper body is just a little bit behind the ball, you can now get yourself to kind of make a swing, and I do get in front of a mirror or something, and just make a couple little swings where the club head stays outside the hands. Hands are coming straight back, body is rotating, but the hands and the club are going a little straighter back so that that club is staying outside your hands instead of coming inside. Once your hands get in, or the club gets inside, that's when you have to lift it. So, Aaron Badley down the road. See how that club head's outside of his hands instead of inside. Once it's outside, now I can rotate and the club can kind of settle on plane. Trevor Immelman. His club is staying outside of his hands right there. Oh, where's my Rory? There's Rory. Club head staying outside the hands. And again, that's all because they set up a little with the hands a little bit more in the center of their body so the left arm doesn't have to push and the club doesn't come inside. I could have sworn I had this Rory picture from the front. Oh well. Nick Watney. See how the club head stays outside the hands. And we can keep the club head outside the hands because the body is set forward a little bit, or set back and the hands are back just a little bit. Okay? So number one is getting this address position where the hands, and I'll use somebody else instead of me. This one of Badley is always a good one. Hands inside the thigh, upper body just a little bit back behind the ball. And you're just kind of tilting your spine, tailbone pointed kind of at your left heel, left hip's a little bit up because your spine's back that way just a little bit. Hands inside. Now from there, you can get the club to stay outside the hands because it's all one piece moving to there. And again, I think if you get the setup and you get to here, you know how to go forward. You're doing a great job of going forward where you were. But then just kind of do some of these little setup and punch drills to get rid of that impact position. A little squeeze, couple little squeezes, and then you can hit some punch shots. And it's going to be the same thing. Even if I make the full swing, I still want the shift, and I want to get those hands out in front. So that's my ultimate goal. Get the hands in front so the shaft is leaning forward just past impact, as opposed to this breakdown you get and that release back behind because you get ahead of the ball so early. And so the setup allows you to get forward. That's my ultimate goal for you right here. This move through impact where those arms can get out of the way, handle leads with the shift. Like I said, I think your body and your shift is perfect. So this is my ultimate goal, getting the hands out there. But to do that, you've got to get yourself, instead of lifting and on top of and in front of the ball already, so you're already starting, you haven't started down and you're already ahead of the ball, we've got to get you here, where you're a little behind the ball. Then you start doing whatever you want going forward. Yeah, here's this Hogan picture. I love this. So even hitting little wedges and stuff. Watch his first move. Where's his head already? You can see his head's already on his right leg. Now he can move into that right leg without flipping the hands. So head and chest inside the right leg. Now certainly as he starts turning, now we can get that big shift into that left side, which is where you look right here. But your hands should already be back down in front of you. Okay? So, hands lead through impact. We get there by a little change in address position. Not letting those hands get so far forward, and your right hip out that way. Hips are over here, upper body there. I know I repeated myself a bunch of times, but my mind is bouncing around right now. So anyway, hands inside, upper body a little back, hips just a little bit forward toward target. You can see how Hogan looks like he's tilted back behind the ball right there. That will allow you to no longer have the club come inside your hands. Once it's inside here, you have to lift. And once you lift, you're already trying to shift forward, so now you're too far ahead of the ball. So, address position, club head stays outside your hands. Now you can do your rotation into that right leg. Rotation into the right leg. Now you can shift. And like I said, I do a bunch of these little drills here. Just kind of squeeze forward to impact. Squeeze forward where you want impact, those hands ahead. And start with some little 100-yard wedges, 120-yard 8-irons, something like that. Then you get into some full swings after hitting some little punch shots. If you have any questions, I know I said a lot. You can take notes on this. Send me an email. You can send me a picture again, or send me some video if you want to do that again also. Hope everything's well. Give me a call or an email if you have any questions. Take care.